Now, I'm delighted to welcome our next guest, Nicci Daly, to the show. Irish hockey star, obviously. This is part of the AIG marking the 20 by 20, the conclusion of the AIG Show Your Skills competition. Nicci, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. The Show Your Skills competition was like a key pillar of the whole 20 by 20 movement, and the point of this was to highlight women and girls and the amazing skill level that they bring to the sports that they participate in. Having watched the whole 20 by 20 campaign, and as somebody who played multiple sports and is interested in multiple sports growing up, what's your perception of how the campaign has been received and how it's going to be received into the future? What kind of legacy do you think it's left for us?
Oh, I think it's been the foundation now for women in sport in this country, and I think they've provided a platform there. Everyone got behind it. Everyone understood what needed to be done around women's sport because of it. And I think now it's up to each and every one of us to kind of continue moving that movement forward. And I think it's been a fantastic campaign throughout the 2 years. I've been a huge supporter of it, both from my own personal hockey and stuff, but also through Formula Female with women in motorsport. So yeah, I think they've done a fantastic job, and it's just up to us now to keep driving that momentum forward.
Do you think it will have an impact?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've seen the impact already just over the last 2 years. I know certainly it's a lot of young girls that I've come across probably didn't know an awful lot about women in sport in all different sports. They might have only known maybe a couple in the sport that they're interested in, but I think 20 by 20 has opened up a variety of different sports for young girls to see and to understand that there's so many different sports out there for young girls, and that's what a platform like that does for you.
Before we talk about hockey, will you talk to us a little bit about Formula Female and what it is, how it's working?
Yeah, it's an initiative I set up about 2 years ago to try and open up the sport to young girls, to try and show them the different opportunities that are involved in motorsport and the different career opportunities that are involved. And since 2018, I've launched a Go Girls karting initiative, trying to introduce over 1,000 young girls between the ages of 13 and 16 to motorsport. And it's been fantastic, to see so many girls, the smiles on their faces when they get into a go-kart, or when they turn around and tell you that maths is fun, or building data loggers is actually something that they're interested in. It's amazing to see that opening up a sport like motorsport and the different opportunities can have such a positive impact on young people.
Because it's interesting, obviously most sports in Ireland, the most that we can aspire to be is elite amateurs. Obviously, if you play professional soccer, that's great. Maybe the cyclists earn some money. With Shane Ryan on a little bit earlier on. He's a professional swimmer, but he did also, in passing, say that when he was living here, he was broke. It's a very difficult life for a lot of people who reach elite sport. But motorsport, for the people who aren't just partaking in it, there is actual career opportunities in there that you mentioned. It's possible to work in your passion if you're into motorsport.
Yeah, absolutely. You see all the Formula One drivers, there's a team of people behind them. There's a team of people behind every racing team, and they're, very highly qualified people, engineers, mechanics, team managers, team owners, all that sort of stuff. So there's so many different elements involved in motorsport that it's great to be able to bring business, technology, engineering to get together with sport. So it's kind of unique in that sense, with the amount of disciplines it probably brings together with a sport. So yeah, there's so much opportunity out there, and it's just about raising the awareness of it and showing these young girls or boys even that these opportunities do exist, and a career in motorsport can be an option for them.
So you're an engineer, is that right?
Yeah, I studied mechanical engineering for my undergrad, and then I went and studied a master's in motorsport engineering in the UK. So I've done a little bit of work with the racing team in the States. I worked with Juncos Racing, they're an Indy Lights team, as a data engineer there for them. So I got to, be involved with what it is to be a data engineer. I was the lead data engineer on one car. I was kind of thrown in the deep end, but yeah, it was a great experience. And it was sort of through that and my experience of in college that made me realize that, not enough girls really know about this, and there wasn't that many girls either studying it or working in the sport. And it kind of became, the reason why I started the Formula Female Initiative was to, bring this sport to so many more girls and let them see that it's an option. And, since then I've already had a couple of girls come to me. One has already just started the same masters that I did in Cranfield this year. She had no previous experience of motorsport or any real kind of previous interest in it. But after seeing the Go Girls initiative and coming to a couple of days working with us, she realised that this is something that she'd love to do. And she's in England now working with a racing team that we've helped get her involved with. And she's also doing her masters. So there you go, it's working.
What does the lead data engineer do in the specific role that you had? What were you doing day to day?
You're basically responsible for the data acquisition on the car. So, I mean, every racing car is fitted with a certain amount of sensors to track all the movements of the car. And so you're responsible for making sure that the system is in place and it's fully functioning the way you want it to. But then you're also responsible for, downloading all the data that comes from all these sensors, analysing it, and trying to understand where you can make the biggest performance gains. So you work quite closely with the race engineer. He makes all the decisions, or she makes all the decisions around whatever changes they want to make, whether it's an aero change or, a suspension change or anything like that. You have a look at the data, see if it backs up maybe what the driver's saying, and then the race engineer make a decision, make a change, and see how the change affects the lap time.
How much of a challenge can it be? Oh, sorry. How much of a challenge can it be to sort of separate the data that you're seeing and the human element of it? I'm not sure what specific scenarios you would have encountered, but is there ever a conflict there between the performance or lack thereof of a driver, for example, and the performance or lack thereof from the actual machine itself?
Oh yeah, I mean, you can see a lot from the data, like, where maybe the driver's making errors or maybe where the car is not performing as you'd like. And, you have a lot of historical data there that you can compare against each other. But yeah, I mean, like you can tell a lot from what the driver's doing with the steering wheel, the steering trace, the brake trace, the throttle trace, how he uses the gears. That can tell you an awful lot about how he's driving. And then, if you're not seeing anything in that sticks out, quite obviously, then it's more likely going to be something to do with the car, or a little maybe combination of both. But yeah, you can tell a lot from the data, and also you can tell a lot from a driver's feedback. If it's consistent and it's they're well able to kind of articulate what they want to say, you generally think that they know what's happening with the car. But if they're a little inconsistent with their feedback and they're not quite sure, you can maybe think that that's a little bit down to them and not being sure of how they're driving the car.
How big on data are you then personally when it comes to analysing hockey performances?
Yeah, we do a lot. We do a lot of data analysis. I spoke about data. Video analysis would be a big one. We do have a guy, Mark is our video guy, and he does a lot of work around the stats as well. So yeah, it becomes a big part of the game. But I think not to get too carried away with the data, and it's the same in motorsport. Like you can analyze and overanalyze as much as you want, but usually if you kind of keep it simple, you'll find the answer. So we try and do the same with the hockey analysis when it comes to that. And generally you'll know anyway where the problem is or what you need to do. It's just trying to have a look at it in a little bit of detail and make it better from there.
Because that's what they say. Any statistician, it's all about, I don't know, making it digestible for a player on a team or whatever it may be. When your hockey stats person is giving you the concise information, are you like, no, actually give it to me in complicated terms? I want to drill down into everything you're seeing here.
No, I think I prefer it in a simple format. Like the team I worked with in the States was great for kind of teaching me around how to look at data and not to get too down into the nitty gritty of it, because you can kind of get lost down a wrong path very easily. And it is better to, at the end of the day, like it's like hockey and motor racing, like the stopwatch doesn't lie. And so you can generally tell where you're going wrong. fairly quickly, and you can break down that bit of time that you're losing into so much detail. But the answer is probably fairly straightforward, and it's the same for hockey. Like, you can understand maybe why you didn't score a goal, but you can break it down into all sorts of different technical elements. But generally you'll know why it didn't happen pretty easily.
In terms of actually managing the workload with being an elite hockey player and also finding the time to make sure that you're giving yourself the opportunity to develop your career, it's a constant conversation that we have with GAA players as well. You've obviously managed that very well over the last number of years.
Yeah, I think I went to the States in 2016, and that was due to the fact that we missed out in qualification for Rio. So I decided to take a bit of time out from the national team and allow myself to start to, develop the other side of my life, which was, engineering. And it kind of worked out quite well, because I got to, work a full racing season with a team over there, and it opened up my eyes. It opened up my world pretty much to a lot of different things, and it's given me kind of the experience to go on and do other things since then. But since kind of coming back from that, and I haven't really done any of the motorsport engineering since the end of 2018, and that was due to the World Cup and everything that came with that. And since we had the World Cup, we've kind of entered into this now semi-professional setup with the hockey team, where we just don't have the time to be able to give that attention to other parts of our careers. And I know a lot of the girls have had to give up their careers or put them on hold, at least for the foreseeable future. And that's unfortunately what happens when you kind of enter into that setup, a sporting setup where there's so much contact time with the hockey now, and it's full steam ahead for trying to make an Olympics, that it kind of becomes your focus. And that's okay. I'm willing to do that. I can work for the rest of my life, as I was going to say many times.
Because it's such a clearly defined endpoint as well. Like, Tokyo will be the end of this team. It'll break up in Jim Gavin has that famous thing where he shuts the doors after they win All Ireland and says, this group is never going to be together. And everybody kind of goes, well, I'll be here next year. But actually somebody always leaves. And with the hockey team, because you've been on the road for quite a while, it's going to be a very different hockey team that emerges post-Tokyo, which I guess gives you a real sense of mission.
Yeah, I think, I certainly know for me it will be the end. This is, going into my 11th year now, being on the national team, and like that, you give up so much, and it's time to kind of develop other areas of life. And if we were in a professional setup where, we could be full-time hockey players and live a normal life, shall we say, that would be great. But yeah, I think, it's inevitable that players will step away come the end of Tokyo. And but doesn't mean to say that, the team won't go on to keep achieving things. And I certainly think that they will. I think what we've kind of started now from the World Cup onwards is only going to kind of fuel the next couple of Irish international teams that come after. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time for Irish hockey.
Yeah, look, I think you're literally the embodiment of the can't see it, can't be it. The next generation of hockey teams, men's and women's, are going to have a huge amount to pay you guys as your legacy, and it's clear that you're having an impact on the sport of motor racing in Ireland too. Great to have you with us, Nicci. Thanks a million for joining us today.
No problem, thank you.
It's Nicci Daly, of course, an Irish hockey player with the Ireland team, and here as part of the AIG and the conclusion of the AIG Show Skills competition as part of 20 by 20. Check out AIG's Twitter page to see some of the 3,000 spectacular entries that they received over the course of the competition. Here's Pádraig Harrington talking with Adrian last night about tackling Augusta National. We'll speak with Joe Malloy next.